Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Lord. I am the founder and principal of Archetype Learning Solutions. And on this channel, we talk about all things employee engagement. So welcome back or welcome in. If this is your first time viewing us, we have a very simple strategy, and that is to engage everyone every day through quality daily interactions. Our goal really is to take some of the basic concepts that everyone talks about when it relates to employee engagement, like reward and recognition, and go a little bit deeper into each one of these conversations and how it connects and relates to employee engagement. So, for example, while reward and recognition is extremely important and plays in a really important role in employee engagement, in and of itself, it isn't always enough. You have to understand how each employee wants to be recognized and rewarded for their efforts and their great work and celebrated, because applying the same approach, the same tactics to every single employee is not going to be as effective as getting to know each employee very thoroughly, having that relationship, and then meeting their needs where they're at. So great reason to get the book, Engaging Your Employees, and connect with each of the strategies as well as the strategy toolkit. So I'll take a deeper dive into the why and the how behind that. Because if you're putting forth the effort to do this, it should have some meaning and some value and some good results at the end. Okay, today in this short video, I want to talk about something that I learned about yesterday, which is called the Gen Z stare. Okay, so I had to look this up. I mean, I kind of had a concept of what it was. The Gen Z stare, and I pulled this from good old Google. The Gen Z stare refers to a blank, expressionless look that some members of Generation Z give in response to small talk, basic questions, and it's often perceived as a lack of engagement or social disconnect. They go on further to say it's characterized by a vacant, deadpan expression that young people may display during interactions, particularly in customer service settings or casual conversations. So again, the lighting's really bad today. I don't know why. So sorry about the lighting. I don't know why it's so dark in here, but hopefully the message still resonates. So I heard about this yesterday and I thought it was really fascinating. And my first response to this was that is a trauma reaction or a trauma response from Gen Z. Now, this goes back to some things that I have written about previously, and that we have a generation of the younger folks so Gen Z ranges from 13 to 26. And that 26-year-old population, I think, was really neglected, and I hate to use that word, but that's the word that I'm going with. That was a generation of folks, kids, young adults, if you will, that was really neglected during all of the COVID mandates and lockdowns and measures and all of that. And I say that I don't think any of us did that from a place of, oh, I'm just going to ignore you. I fell into the same trap, thinking that my college-age daughter in her apartment with her roommates and taking virtual classes was going to be just fine. And I think I really missed the mark on this as well. I think that all of us were focused on our own needs. We probably had aging parents that we were concerned about. And some of us might have had even younger kids that we really were concerned about, believing that the kids that were in college had enough capacity, mental, emotional capacity, and wherewithal to withstand some of the challenges that they were facing. And they just didn't. The adult brain is not fully formed until about the age of 24, 25. And I just don't think that while we believed they were adult and had the coping mechanisms to weather the storm, if you will, I just don't think that they did. And I think we're seeing the results of that now, with that Gen Z stare being one of the consequences or ramifications that came from that. So here's how I want to connect this back to engagement. And a couple of videos ago, I talked about a common occurrence that a lot of managers were seeing that was somewhat similar to the Gen Z stare, and that was the inability to put the phone down. So this generation, same age group, is very reliant on screen time. And I talked about that screen time, the need for that screen time as their how these kids were getting the dopamine response that they needed for the well-being and happiness brain chemicals that we need to be well adjusted and engage and interact within society. So I think the same type of thing is occurring here, and we're not recognizing it as a trauma response. And so how do we engage those individuals? We have to step up to the plate and be leaders, regardless of our title. Leadership is not about a title. Leadership is about how we engage with folks, how we respond with them through effective, kind, empathetic engagements and conversations and communication. So how do we do that? Well, we start again with the daily dose, and we start to rewire their brain to receive dopamine responses in a different way than screen time. And so that can come with things like beginning to take those baby steps in engaging them with meaningful conversation, assigning a long-term project with some short-term goals or milestones that they can meet, and then celebrating those events. So it's up to us to kind of help them rewire their brain, because this is how their brains have been wired at this point. What did they do when they were locked in their dorm rooms? I mean, thank goodness my daughter was at least in an apartment, but what did they do when they were all stuck in their dorm rooms? They relied on their phones. And so you don't have to have a lot of expression when you're interacting with your screen. So I think it's really incumbent upon us to recognize that this is probably a trauma response. And we have an entire generation that needs our help. And so we have to step up and help them so that they can be better engaged team members and contributors to society. So I love your thoughts. I love your comments. We really do need to mentor them. We need to show some compassion and recognize that all of us actually have been through some type of collective trauma over the past several years. But if we want them to be collective, contributing, effective members of society, which includes the workforce, we have to step in and help engage them in an entirely different way. All right, so that's it for today and my message. I just had to talk a little bit about this, and I don't think disciplining them and terminating them, firing them, telling them that they're not working out for us is the right approach, because we're just compounding more trauma on top of existing trauma. So, all right, if this content resonates with you, I hope you'll share, like, subscribe, and please leave a comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I'd love to further engage in this conversation. I think it's very, very important, and I don't think that we can overlook this. So, all right, I hope to see you again soon. I'll leave some additional tips and comments and such in links below, and hope to see you back next time.